Welcome to this Times Techies Webinar. I am Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Akhil George. The two of us will moderate the discussion that we are having in partnership with IBM. India's manufacturing sector is at a tipping point, driven by the twin forces of digitalization and automation. One of the key drivers of the recent manufacturing revolution has been what everybody knows as Industry 4.0. That is now moving towards systems that can operate with a high degree of independence, relying on AI and machine learning to make decisions and perform tasks with minimal human intervention. In China, we've heard of things like dark factories, which are these fully automated manufacturing facilities that operate without human workers, relying instead on robots and AI systems. These are facilities that are designed to run 24/7, optimizing efficiency and production output. The full potential of technologies like smart factories, AI agents, and quantum computing is tremendous and can enhance key factors like efficiency and safety. Today, we will dive deeper to understand the current trajectory of these innovations and discuss what they could mean for the future of manufacturing in India. And for that, we have four seasoned professionals from very different industries. We have with us Dheeraj Sinha. Dheeraj has been on this discussion platform before. Dheeraj is Executive Vice President and Group CIO at Pharma, the largest pharma company in India and a leading global player in specialty generic pharmaceuticals. Prior to this, Dheeraj was with JSW as EVP and Group Chief Information Officer for more than 8 years. And before that, he was the Group CIO and Global Supply Chain Head at Apollo Tyres for over 12 years. Welcome, Dheeraj.
Thank you very much.
We have Hizmy Hassen. Hizmy is the Chief Digital Officer at Apollo Tyres. I just heard that Hizmy and Dheeraj never worked together. Hizmy joined Apollo some years after Dheeraj left. Hizmy has over 25 years of experience in IT, driving digital transformation in multinational organizations. He leads the strategy and operations of Apollo Tyres' digital journey and is also responsible for the future architecture roadmap and evolution of the IT delivery model. Hizmy was previously with Coats PLC, the world's largest maker of sewing threads, and prior to that with Unilever. Welcome, Hizmy.
Thank you, Sujit.
We have Shailendra Tiwari. Shailendra is Chief Information Officer at Solar Group. Solar Group specializes in the design, development, manufacture, and application of energy materials, including explosives and ammunition for both industrial and defense sectors. Shailendra is responsible for enterprise IT strategy and governance, enterprise infrastructure and applications management, cybersecurity, and digital transformation and innovation. Prior to this, he was with Nuvoco Vistas Corp, one of the largest cement manufacturers in India. And prior to that, with pipeline infrastructure and with Petronas lubricants. Welcome, Shailendra.
Yeah, hi, Helen, hi, everyone.
And we also have Sanjay Mittal. Sanjay is the senior partner and the industrial sector leader for IBM Consulting in India and South Asia. He has more than 25 years of experience in enterprise and SMB sales across various industries. He also has rich cross-cultural experience in building global partnerships, including setting up the global marketing and sales organizations of a European company. Welcome, Sanjay.
Hi everyone.
Those who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Dheeraj, Hizmy, Shailendra, and Sanjay. So why don't we just jump in? This first question is for both Hizmy and Shailendra. With all the technology advancements that have happened, can you give us a quick glimpse into 2 to 3 major changes that AI and automation is bringing into your sectors, and how much has Gen AI made an impact? Hizmy, you want to start?
Yeah, it's a good question. Some of the big trends that are happening in the industry, and when I say industry, both auto and specifically in the tire industry, so the components into automotive. One is obviously driven on efficiency. There's a lot of price pressures, and these are highly capital-intensive manufacturing. Tire is very highly capital-intensive manufacturing. So there's a lot of investor pressure and certainly pressure to extract more from these capital investments. So data, AI is becoming more and more prevalent to that, and I'll come up a bit later on for that. Then obviously the other areas is around safety, and certainly putting in sensors and using sensors in tires for driving new revenue models. And certainly it's also becoming a requirement, a regulatory requirement through safety. in the field of manufacturing, and as I said, we've been investing in the last 2-3 years in data and in AI, because these machines in tire manufacturing comes with a lot of sensors. So we're able to really get data, get into the insights, and use AI to help operators identify root cause behind where there are efficiency losses. So one good example that I've quoted before is that we've created, in fact, I wouldn't even say small language models, I would say micro language models, where we take data specifically from individual machines or groups of machines, and we teach an AI model to be like a little chat GPT. So any operator can use just normal English language to say, why was production low today? Okay, tell me where should I look at to identify these efficiency gains. So we've actually branded it called Apollo Edge, and these models have been very powerful to first help identify where problems occur and allow operators and engineers and process engineers to get to the root cause quicker and solve the root cause. What we're also now doing is, as they are coming up with solutions to solve the root cause, we're capturing this data, because these data is not captured historically in any organization. And the idea is to then teach models to ensure the problem doesn't happen. Okay, so they not just the data that tells you the root cause, but the solutions are critical nuggets of information and insights to really drive efficiency. So there's a lot of work that we've been doing to drive efficiency. We've seen some real positive impact that certainly helped us defer capex investments. And obviously the other areas are around health and safety. That's another big area where using computer vision and data, we're able to mitigate a lot of the risks in health and safety. So those are some of the big insights that are happening in the industry today.
Okay.
Have you been able to?
Okay, so go on, Akhil.
Sorry, have you been able to boost production with all of this?
Yes.
All of these advancements?
Very much. Yeah, so very much. I mean, the first port of call for most manufacturers is to reduce the process variability. So look at your own internal data benchmarking and get AI to help you identify where the root cause is. So you reduce the process variability to a much smaller band. It helps in quality improvement, but that certainly has a good 5 to 10% runway in production increase. Before you go to the next phase, which is all around using AI to be very precise in process parameters and control process parameters. That's the next phase of the journey.
Fascinating. Before Shailendra comes in, I just want to ask, there's a little squeaky noise coming from either Hizmy's or Sanjay's. I don't know where that is coming from. Just have a check on one of you where that could possibly be coming from. Hizmy, any product, any metrics you can provide in terms of improvements?
Yeah, so if you take typically discrete manufacturing, you got what we call dry cycle time and wet cycle time. So what happens inside the machine and what happens outside the machine. So, in terms of machine preparation, material preparation, loading, unloading, etc. Right? So there we've been able to, we push to reduce that cycle time by eliminating non-value-adding activities, again, between 5 to 10%. That's the first port of call. And then we are now looking at how do you reduce a cycle time, what happens when the components are inside the machine. So as I explained, yeah, we're targeting and getting anywhere in the region between 5 to 10%, depending on different processes of efficiency gains.
Okay. Shailendra?
Yeah. So I think interesting from Hizmy, having said about the discrete manufacturing. So we are a process industry, and we embarked on the journey of automation quite a few years ago to harness the power of automation. And we started with automating some mundane and repetitive process. So that was the starting point for us. Okay, but as adoption grew, the requirement got a little bit exciting and complex, and we need to think about how we can bring AI ML model into the automation, which can help us across the manufacturing processes, across supply chain, across the support departments, so that we can really harness the power of technology. So as we speak, because of the process industry, we are having a separate IIoT team who are driving innovations. Okay, when it comes to enhancing the productivity, improving quality, because it is important for us. The raw material is quite different and it's very costly. We cannot afford to go into a bad quality because rejection is not acceptable altogether. So while manufacturing, we had to harness a lot of PLCs, DCS, edge devices integrating with our systems, and then we are, as of now, storing a lot of information inside, also taking some decision. So the big achievement is that nowadays no one looks at the traditional reports which was generated by production or quality team. Now it is coming through system and machine speaks, and so that's how we have progressed so far. The next leap, what we are bringing is to at least see that what kind of insights we get all our equipment, so that we can use them beyond their life and increase the productivity. So we have some constraint. We are regulated business, so we have our boundaries and challenges in terms of information security, safety, confidentiality. So unlike harnessing power from outside world, we need to build our own models, okay, and to build our own programs to bring in automation. So that's how we are doing in the manufacturing setup. Plus, a lot of improvements are being observed by people using Gen AI nowadays. So we have some stories published every fortnight, how we leverage on them. Unlike earlier, when we used to rely on subject matter expert for something, now people quickly go on to platform and learn and revert to the business requirement or any problem solving. So creative assistance, which we are getting from Gen AI nowadays. So we are having a very rapid growth on the AI ML part. So we will be witnessing surely more usage in the industry.
Regulatory, because you are in the defense industry, is it, Shailendra?
Yeah.
Yeah. That brings a lot of restrictions, I guess, no?
Yeah, so that's what I said. I mean, the confidentiality, security, and we cannot go beyond our boundary. So that's the challenge. So a lot of, unlike the other players who can leverage on the existing knowledge repository available on internet, we need to build our own. We need to have our own team to, tweak algorithms, bring some innovation in place.
No, really fascinating. We'll come back to some of this, but can you get Dheeraj and Sanjay in? Dheeraj and Sanjay, how are Industry 4.0 and AI agents being deployed in Indian manufacturing today, and what impact are they having on efficiency and decision making? Dheeraj?
Yeah, thanks. I will just add on to the previous question before I answer this. And coming from a pharma background, I think it's a highly, highly regulated environment. Any manufacturing that you do, your ability to close loop is typically not there. Explainability becomes such a big issue in terms of what the models tell you, your ability to go back, explain it to the FDA authorities, etc., becomes a Herculean challenge that we are working on and currently looking at few experiments that we can do. What has already happened is, for example, there is a 0.5% uplift in the entire revenue because now for 15,000 sales guys that MRs who are there on the field, our ability to nudge, tell them which doctors to meet, which cycle did not meet, and hence there's a gap in terms of where you have an average of an SKU sale that needs to happen. The day that you dip below that, you would get a nudge, please go and meet Mr. Sanjay, because he prescribes a lot of more of this information. Manually, humanly, to do it across 15,000 MRs on a daily basis, etc. So we're seeing a clear uplift of 0.5 to 0.6% of our revenue from the pilot sample that we have attempted to deploy. So very large gains have already started coming in our case. Uh, Clear items in terms of pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance is any molecule that you deploy, there are enough and more adverse reactions that can come in. Some are solicited, the patient needs to advise, the doctor needs to advise, but typically in an Indian or any scenario, that typically does not happen. So then you rely on medical journals, PubMed, etc., to be able to glean out the information of an interaction of a molecule A with various other molecules, because you don't take a drug in isolation. You would have complications, etc. You're taking multiple drugs together. And hence the ability to understand. So if we have 2000 SKU, let's say 2000 drugs, as a mandate, I need to do a drug discovery and a adverse event reporting to the FDA or any other authorities every year. Now, it is a cycle that makes it so difficult for you to be able to do 2000 of these every. Just give me a second. My light has stopped. Yeah, this is better. This is automated lighting. So if you're still. So I think that's where the challenges where we had an army of people to be able to scan the literature, understand what is needed. Then there's a clinical content in terms of understanding the adverse effects, etc. And then if there's a category of severity in terms of fatal, severe, etc. And whatever are the cases that you want to refer, it gets into an internal QA, QC, and then there is a panel of doctors to be able to review. You would have seen that on every drug pamphlet there's an adverse reaction, a side effect, etc. that comes in. Mandatorily, it needs to be updated every year by each of the drug manufacturer. So this is the kind of effort that goes in, and across geographies, there are different mandates for us to be able to do. So it becomes, there's a lot of those applications that we have started deploying already. In terms of SOPs, everything in pharma is SOP driven. If you need to get out of the room, what are the effects that you need to do? Get into a room, you have to do a clean room, you have to wear a mask, gown, etc. There are various chambers that you cannot get into, etc. Everything is SOP driven. And when I looked at a digital signature that I needed for myself, I had to go through 3 SOPs and get a training done and pass the training before I was given a digital signature. So now, if you have 43 plants spread across, and there are plants, 23 of the plants are internationally located, and with various regulatory requirement that each of these plants have, having a common, or not a common, is a very difficult exercise. Having a harmonized SOP, which meets the various requirement by still being harmonized, is something, because we have legacy SOPs which have been there for years now. Now, if you had a problem, you create another step to be able to have a maker and checker on top of it and top of it and so on. So over a period of time, we have overcomplicated the SOPs from our point of view. So now how do we harmonize is where we are using AI to be able to help us compare SOPs, understand how do we put in those processes and help us harmonize. There are multiple other, I don't want to get into it, but there are multiple other examples. For example, when you get into sales, there is an MR team, but there is also a medical advisory team. Medical advisory team is only responsible for educating the doctors, the patients, etc. So its responsibility is to give knowledge. It is not meant to do any sales. Now, typically, when a new product gets introduced, and we introduce roughly around 30 to 40 SKUs every year, uh, the doctor will have 20 questions. The MR is capable of answering 5. For the rest of them, the moment it becomes too technical, too clinical, and gets into a biology and a chemistry, he will say, I'll get back to you. And that's the responsibility of the medical rep. That's the responsibility of the medical advisor to be able to get back to the doctor in terms of clarifying his doubts, side effects, and so whatever else is there. Now, what we are doing is, in the detailing that the MR has on the iPad, etc., we are incubating and ensuring that the medical advisor is built in as part. So we are creating a combination of an MR and a medical advisor together. Now, there is enough and more literature which is available internally, and I'm not talking about the public literature. So we have already created a repository of all the literature that we have internally for various drugs, etc. Now, a medical advisor also does only the same thing. He scans all the documents. If he doesn't know the answer, goes back and gives a very, very clinically and a scientific answer back to the doctor. Now, if I can if I can create 15,000 medical advisors along with 15,000 reps, then I think we would achieve a target of being the most innovative pharma company in terms of what is it that we're attempting to do. Multiple examples, Sujit, but I think that's where we are. You talked about the industry 4.0 and what is it that we are doing in manufacturing. Uh, the SOP simplification, so pharma by itself typically slightly behind the curve because to be able to make a change happen, the kind of FDA norms and the documentation that we need to get into. So typically the mantra has been if it isn't broken, don't attempt to fix it.
Yes.
Now we are changing that paradigm to say, boss, if it needs to get done, it needs to get done. So to be able to now go ahead and walk that path, and we can't do a closed loop. So because we can't go back and make a modification in an existing process. That closed looping is not possible because then you get into a different level of validation, which will make the product not reach the market in time. And hence, we get an advice from the AI, but we do not do a closed looping and a correction. The industry 4.0 that we are attempting to deploy now is more from energy management, is more for quality management, because when you need to pass a drug or a batch of drug to be able to go ahead for dispatch, then there is a quality validation that needs to happen for which all the raw materials that have come in to be able to create that batch, all the certifications related to that have to be individual. And there's an ODR, there's a Office of Data Reliability, which needs to manage and ensure that it is QA released properly before a drug can reach the market. We are playing with the lives of individuals. And hence, for that, the simple things, the ability to get those documents to the level of QA wherever it is needed. We are going a step further to say, can we hypothetically, looking at the QA documents and the COA documents of the raw material, release a batch automatically? Majority of the time, we have an army of people to be able to do batch releases across all the 43 sites that we have. So enough and more excitement, a lot of things are happening, and I'm more than happy to clarify and answer any further questions that we may have.
You decide the quality based on the documents alone, is it?
No, documents is one of the document is when a queue material has already come out of production as in the not been released, it's in a QA batch. From then onwards to be able to release it, Q has to read a lot of other things. But one of the critical things that it also needs to understand is whether the raw material, the process parameters, etc., all of them were in sync in it. So we have started with raw material, COA, etc. The next step is to bring in the process documents, and we are deploying MES, etc., along with it to be able to then reach the intent is, can I release the batch pseudo? It will not, it still has to be manually QA released, but can I give an indication to QA that everything is fine? Or these are the 5 parameters that you need to look at rather than attempting to spend days to be able to understand as to whether the batch needs to be released or not.
So Sanjay, Dheeraj, one question
Sure.
on how do you able to convince the regulators bringing these transformation, because we are also regulated and a lot of hurdles are faced when it
That's
comes
why I
to.
started by giving an example of sales, which is simple because it's an unregulated environment.
Okay.
The moment you get into, so there are 4 areas that we're working on. R&D, which is highly regulated, there is nothing that can go onto the cloud. It has to be internally. So any model that you want to build, you have to build it internally. The second is manufacturing and quality, where you do not need to go and cross loop. If you can get the intelligence, if it can prompt and tell you what to do, that's good enough. Taking a closed loop back is a problem and something that we have not been, or it has not been attempted before.
Sanjay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think very interesting industries, very unique in their own, if you look at their own space, automotive, pharmaceutical, explosive, regulated. But just taking clues from that, I think one thread is common that leveraging Industry 4.0, the AI capabilities, the manufacturing units are getting more and more smarter. And we are seeing a lot of convergence of technologies. I think traditionally there was always a lot of data available because of the sensors, the SCADA systems that were always there in the manufacturing units. But what we are seeing is being able to capture this data, able to run some intelligent algos on top of that. And we heard Hizmy talking about, the micro language models, right, which is very unique to a problem that we are trying to solve. Capital intensive industry, so your predictive maintenance, your optimization becomes very, very critical in the manufacturing units. So I think those are the things that we are seeing now, that this data is all being captured. They are being taken through micro or small language models where they're able to provide insights to the either operators or to the supervisors, wherein they can take decisions which will help them improve the productivity. Digital twins are becoming a reality now. So you have an assistant next to you, which will help you take decisions very quickly based on a real data, and not based on certain intelligence that you build over a period of time based on your experience. We are also seeing that the whole hype about these POCs over last couple of years is now over. What was being applied to small use cases has given tremendous confidence to actually apply this capability to a large transformation, which will give you a competitive edge in the industry, and also help you get better ROI. So I think it's all getting real. In fact, one of the largest cement manufacturer, we were interacting with them a few months back, and they realized that within the batches in the same premises or across different units, there is a lot of variation, right, in terms of productivity and some of the material quality. And one of the things that they were taking a lot of time to really do a root cause analysis between multiple units. So we actually use some language models built on Watson.ai, and we were able to churn all this information, the data that we were capturing, in less than 10 minutes, what used to take sometimes more than 24 hours. So it helped them really get that insight where they could optimize the manufacturing, let's say, parameters between the different units. So I think this is all getting real. That is where we are seeing Industry 4.0 getting to a convergence of entire technology and the information that is available in the manufacturing unit, Sujit.
Sanjay, just where do you think India stands in this whole space compared? Of course, China has one extreme, dark factories and all we hear, but generally speaking, Indian manufacturing in terms of Industry 4.0, where do we stand?
See, if you look at it otherwise, I think we are very open to adopt technology, right? If you look at, we've gone through a lot of transformations. As I said, initially there was quite a lot of hype, and people were questioning the ROI because this was also seen as another, let's say, analytics hype. But I think that's over. And you have some of the, largest, representative from some of the largest companies in India, and they spoke about the real work that they're doing. So I would say that we are making a very fast progress. There is tremendous confidence that we can definitely do a lot more. And you will see that very modern factories and the manufacturing units would be a reality very soon in India. The way we are making progress on the whole Industry 4.0, acceptance in the industry. So it's getting real. It's moving quite at a pace.
Okay.
What type of challenges are you seeing?
I think Akhil froze, is it? That happened to me a little while ago, got frozen. So Sanjay, I think that what Akhil was trying to ask is what kind of risks and have surfaced in this whole process. I mean, AI comes with a lot of risks, hallucinations, this, that, and the other that we keep hearing. How does a responsible AI framework help navigate these challenges?
As Shailendra spoke, regulated industries, for example, right? I mean, that's one part of it. Of course, with the AI agents, it helps the people do your job much better for business outcomes, whether it is on the back of automation, it is on the back of efficiency that leads to productivity or decision making. But it also, any technology also comes with a risk component of that, right? And the kind of risk that we see This could be, the decisions could be biased. They may be addressing a particular, let's say, group of people. You could have in a cyber what attackers take over those AI agents and actually perform things which are not in the larger interest of the society. You could have situations where the personal information could be exposed. Now these are all the risk side of the AI agents. So of course you need a very strong framework, and that is where we come to responsible AI is actually a framework which helps you really design, develop, and deploy the AI agents in a way that they do not have negative outcomes and also impact to the whole societal aspect of it. So that is where I think it becomes very important to have that governance and have that structure, and responsible AI is basically that framework. In fact, we have in IBM what we call is a pillar of trust, which is nothing but it is a process and guidelines that how do you adopt in an organization the entire responsible AI framework as you go on deploying the AI agents in your organization. But a lot of it is around the around skilling and acceptance by the people, that they believe in it, that anything that has to be done more ethically. There has to be a governance board who's looking at all of these processes and the application that we are bringing in. Also, you need to look at, you just can't avoid the human side of it, right? So there has to be a permanent focus on the human side of the entire AI, and you make corrections as and when you spot that. So you just can't say that it's all done now and dusted and we don't need a human oversight on that. So I think these are some of the things that companies are doing to make sure that whatever they are adopting is done in a responsible way and in an ethical way. But it all starts from the entire ethical board, and how do you really get everybody aligned in the organization to think alike, right? I think that's where I will see the responsible AI is actually heading to.
Well, in your experience, what are companies aware of all this and are setting up these boards and all that?
I would say yes. Yeah, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead, Sanjay.
Hizmy was.
Hizmy, please come in. Yeah, please.
No, I was going to exactly what, I think Sanjay painted a picture of best practice, and I've been in IBM sessions describing that. But then, Sujit, you sort of preempted my question, are companies adopting that? I think I'll be open and honest here. I don't think senior management, leadership of major corporates in India is giving the required due diligence for this and the focus, because I think we're all in this race, right? I mean, we've seen at the very highest level, the race between India and China not US and China on AI supremacy, right? And that's filtering down into the real economy. So we're all in a race, and we've seen how AI can really drive competitive advantage. So I think, to be fair, organizations are not giving the required due diligence. I don't think many organizations have proper ethical boards, and even if they do, whether responsible use of AI is part of that. I don't know whether it's in organizations' governance and policy. So I think this is a learning, and organizations need to certainly step up in this, because eventually regulation will catch up. Like regulation has caught up with privacy in India, and if you hadn't been working on it for years, you're going to get caught out, and it's going to be a major cost in terms of catch up, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, even for us, it's something that.
What have you done at Apollo?
Yeah, we've created an infosec a committee. We've come up with some policies, but as I said, to be honest, are we giving enough time on ensuring adoption of these policies, checks and balances, putting in place the right delegation of authority to ensure responsible use? Because we're also busy just trying to push use cases through. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless, as Dheeraj said, unless you've got regulators on this, like Pharma, of course, will have, right? So they will be very keen to ensure responsible use. But no, in fairness, Apollo, we've got certainly catch up to be done in this area.
Yeah.
So still, if I can comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Dheeraj.
Yeah. So if I can comment, I think the first thing that we did was set up a regulatory framework internally. So the head of regulatory, head of legal, etc., are part of the panel which evaluates the AI use cases. some of the use cases that may infringe on the regulatory side, we say we will take it up later. So there are those nuances that we have already attempted to establish. Now, when Hizmy says that it still needs to mature, etc., I completely agree with him. But the basic structures are being put in place to be able to ensure that there is a method for qualification, there is a method for ensuring that you don't infringe on any of these. For example, when I do a drug discovery, I need to put in the the proof across multiple markets. It's called CTD, technical document that needs to be created in various formats as per the regulatory requirements of an India, Bangladesh, a US, a Europe, and so on and so forth. Now, to be able to convert that technical document that I have and my R&D has got into all these separate documents by itself is an art. It requires to be able to get one submission done, get the documents prepared by itself takes 10 to 12 days, 15 days, etc. Once you've got every data available with you at your desk. So if I can convert now, it's a very simple use case for me to articulate and get it done. But the regulatory team has said, no, don't even touch that as of now. Once we have matured slightly is when we will look at it. So I think I agree that there's a lot of maturity that is needed. But at the same point of time, I think the one thing that I think I have a difference of opinion with Hizmy is we have educated the management enough. The management, the push that is there from a management side to get, and being in a regulated environment, at least I can tell that all the signs and the bells and the whistles happen first and the work happens later. So getting all the AI councils, regulatory team involved, etc., all has happened, and then we started looking at the use cases. But then
But
it's
Dheeraj,
also true that it's
yeah.
a special.
I mean, as I said, Dheeraj, you come from a highly regulated industry. It's
correct.
in your DNA.
Yeah.
You've already had for years processes,
No, that I agree.
guardianship. And if you then go to the other end of the spectrum, I can assure you,
No,
there is.
Yeah. That's what I said. In a sense, certain industries.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, in
nuance.
this area, we can learn from regulated industry like pharma, because you've got the framework in place and it's sort of in your DNA. Yeah.
Sure.
Shailendra faces the same constraints, I guess. No, Shailendra, what you also have a board and all that?
So we, wherever regulators are there, you must have some governance framework to deal with them. Okay, but our challenge is not that much in terms of regulatory framework, because we are governed by PISO and other organizations. Okay, but internally as well, we are quite concerned about how we can adopt the technology, especially when we talk about AI, deep learning, or maybe this quantum, because it attracts a set of investment, not only in terms of money, but also from the people who understand the technology, the people who understand how it can be enabler and how it can be destructive for us. So those challenges remain, and it's only the way we tackle is continuous learning. As Hizmy and Dheeraj was saying, you have a board in place. You need to continuously catch hold of management, that whatever you are doing, empowering them so that they can percolate it to down the line, and also how to sustain with the requirement. Another thing which everyone might agree, that technology is growing at very fast pace. Okay, as soon as we come up with some solution, obviously there is some other challenges on the technology front. So we need to catch up those as well. And the tech giants reaches to board first to follow with their solutions. So we need to not only educate external stakeholder as well as the internal stakeholder how and when to adopt technology, so that it can be enabler to us, rather than we go behind just because people are going behind it.
Okay, I just want to ask me, Dheeraj, Shailendra, where have you seen AI going wrong? Is there some places where you see it going wrong, and then where the areas where it most goes wrong, and then what do you need to, how do you correct
See,
it?
I think tech skill is important. The selection of algorithm, because nowadays people don't learn. Even the people who are tech savvy, they leverage on AI to generate a lot of algorithm. Okay, and in that, if you don't understand that, okay, there will be chances that you are getting compromised. Okay, you get a fraudulent model altogether, which can give you different result. So we need some assistance from someone who can easily identify that what model is going to work for us and what are the nitty-gritty of those things. So we are still behind there. We are adopting it at very fast pace, but what are the micro technology which are being used, whether those are going to stage some kind of threat to us in terms of cloning, in terms of giving us the wrong result, because process and chemical industry, as I said here, is capital intensive. We cannot go wrong there. So that is bothering us, that how to get right skill and right technology to adopt.
So IBM would help you in some of those areas, is it? Companies like IBM, model choosing.
Yeah, we go behind them because they have a huge repository altogether, and they are also enabler, but they carry a big responsibility on their shoulder. So they need to address not only the governance of AI, they also need to make industry understand that the level of complexity which we are bringing in. Because if you automate something, the business will be there with another set of requirement in their mind. So they don't stop. And that's why we can't stop. And that's where we need the help of tech giants like IBM to pitch in, and at least to have a roadmap in each of the areas.
Hizmy, Dheeraj, you want to add to that?
I can, but Hizmy, you want to start or can I?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I think anything to do with R&D, where there is enough and more explainability that is needed, where there is the visibility of the. So I have a lot of data which comes in from the Western part of the world, because traditionally that has also been data rich. Our ability to generate that data is not there. And hence any study on any molecule that I do has a normal bias towards the Anglo and the Saxon and the Western side of the world. So our ability to get the data from an Indian side or get a unbiased data becomes an issue. And hence we have attempted to stay away from a clinical trial, clinical development, etc. at this point of time, because we think we also need to, because we are playing with the lives of people. It is not about profitability, it is not about efficiency enhancement. It is about ensuring that we are right every time. We cannot go wrong even one time. And for that to happen, I think we have said that while we will do micro etc. as far as R&D is concerned, the big bang etc. will only happen once we have enough capability internally and the confidence that we have from the surround ecosystem coming in, and there are certain proof points that we would need to be able to get there. So that is possibly in our industry that becomes a challenge.
I mean, to add to that, certainly one of the challenges we have in B2B and therefore manufacturing is also the availability of external data. So we don't, at this phase of our journey, we generate our data and it goes through a, if I can use the phrase, a good rinsing process before it gets used. So whenever we're looking at use cases, we spend a good 60 to 70% of our time ensuring the data is accurate, ensuring the data is validated by the business. Because as soon as if you put in data which is slightly biased and you bring out outputs that is biased, you lose credibility with the business, with your stakeholders. and then it's very difficult to regain that trust. So it's something that everybody should be cognizant of, right? It's a bit like, before you can get into a racing bike, learn to cycle properly, get good at that, then you migrate up, and then as you get really confident, then you can go fast, right? I think we're in that learning curve to be honest, I think as a corporate sector, as an industry.
So you take external help from companies like IBM and all that?
Yeah, obviously we do. We work with certainly with partners, particularly in the area of what are the right models to use, bringing input there. We work with partners to build our own data lake and put in place the governance, to manage hot data, cold storage, and the whole data ETL process. You have to work with partnerships, in not just one partner like IBM, but certainly a broad base of partners.
You have to work. Okay. Akhil?
Yeah. So this last question, let's just shift topics a little bit. Quantum computing, it's still emerging. Frankly, it's years away, but how realistic is its somewhat near-term impact on manufacturing? What should companies be doing today to prepare? Who wants to start? Sanjay, IBM, you guys are the experts. Maybe
Yeah, I think, let me take that. Again, another exciting technology, and our CEO has been very, very invested in it. I think it's getting there. So anything that cannot be addressed by a classic computing would find, the application in quantum computing. I would say in manufacturing, anything that needs a large scale optimization, for example, in supply chains, in prediction, has a use case in quantum. When you look at the industries are getting very, very competitive, you've seen major disruption to supply chains in any manufacturing industry over the last 4 or 5 years. And this is a complex supply chain, which is a global supply chain, right? Now, at times you find limitations with classic, computing capabilities, and that is where quantum comes in. We're also seeing applications, for example, in automotive industry. If I look at specifically, there is a lot of work which is happening around autonomous vehicles, driverless, and that's where you see a real-time convergence of data from multiple sources, sensors, right? And so you really got to compute it on a real-time basis in a large algos, and that is where we see there would be an application for quantum. Also, if you look at spaces like discovery of new material, right, for creating vehicles which are lighter, and you're moving more towards the, let's say, EVs, entire motion towards that. So I'm sure there are many use cases which will become real. I think it's getting there. People will find more applications of the computing capabilities that quantum brings in. But I think days are not far when we will see that this is getting real in the industry. And we are seeing some good use cases coming up, Akhil.
Dheeraj, Hizmy, Shailendra, are you even thinking about these things right now?
So I think in our case, any drug discovery takes 8 to 10 years to be able to bring it into market. And the kind of molecular interactions, etc., that is needed to be studied, etc., takes a significant amount of time. If I can simplify the job of the research analyst, etc., to be who's deeply involved in all of these, to be able to simplify and ensure, which I think currently in the normal computer environment, it is very difficult. Every interpretation of ours typically takes 3 to 4 months to be able to arrive at a result. And then there are so many things that you need to do that typically. So one is, I think, if quantum becomes a reality, one of the typical and the most, how should I put it, most use case would be an accelerated drug discovery that would happen. Along with it, a clinical trial management, so that can I reduce 10 years to 5 years? It is of tremendous importance to the patients if I can do that accelerated discovery. The second use case that I think is in terms of cyber. While the guys will also continue to become smarter with the technology being available. But I think from our point of view, because everything starts getting connected, there is so much of data there. There's so much of agents that are doing the job. And at the end of the day, who holds the fort together to ensure that it continues to run and you're not taken, one of your agents is not taken, held at hostage. So I think I see a very huge application in drug discovery and cybersecurity to start with. And everything else in between, obviously, you'd find very many uses of them as well.
Dheeraj, in the whole COVID period, when the interpretation was that I don't know what technologies were used at that time to speed up that drug development for COVID. Nowadays, there are people who say that listen, technology has changed. You don't require 8, 10 years and all that. Has that really changed, or?
I don't. There is a lot of accelerated work that was done. So the clinical trial piece was skipped in or shortened to be
Okay.
able to ensure that the drug reaches the market. I was not an expert in pharma at that point of time, so you'll have to forgive me. But I think we cut short a few cycles to be able to ensure that the drug reaches faster.
Okay.
But in terms of the entire cycle of development, I think there is still
It
work to be
takes
done.
a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. Hizmy, Shailendra, you want to?
Yeah, so I mean, I think quantum computing is definitely going to be a reality in not too distant future. When I say reality, it's also a reality, but commercially viable and available in mainstream industries, right? What we're seeing playing out with AI, generative AI, and these new technologies is that the pundits are getting the forecast wrong. These technologies are becoming mainstream much faster than we think. And the challenge for us and for us to remain competitive and actually I use the word survival, is to ensure you've got data that can feed these models to be better than your competitors in problem solving, in predicting, in optimization. Because your investors will have a different expectation of returns, of margins, and economic value. And that's a big challenge. And we are doing something relatively unique. We said, you know what? Our data today is not going to be fit for tomorrow, for the future. So we said, let's take 2 steps back to be ready to leapfrog. So we're actually going through a very ambitious program of basically re-implementing all our core ERP systems, whether it's SAP to our HR systems, to our advanced supply chain management system. So we're going through an aggressive program. It's a bold move. And big credit to our leadership team for supporting it, with a view that we can tinker with our data, but it will not be ready for the future generation of quantum computing to compete with what would be the new competitive advantage. So better today to get your data structures fit for the future, to get your processes fit for the future. So you can layer in AI without having to worry about hallucination, quality of data. That should be a thing of the past. Let's see, it's a journey we've started. We want to try and accelerate that as soon as possible.
Get your data strategy right. Okay, Shailendra?
Yeah, I think, the buzzword is there already, and many of us agree that it's going to be the next technology. I mean, it's going to be soon on the next technology curve. But for us, it's worrisome because the amount of investment required in the compute itself. Because unless you have available to your doorstep, you cannot use it, precisely when you have a very closed environment where you don't want to outsource something. So we will wait for those kind of availability to us so that we can. But yes, what we are thinking is from automation to smart automation using AI. Now, a lot of results are there, predicted results are there. So what to do next with these predicted results, how we can bring to closer to accuracy. So there we need to have a complex use case. I believe that we will shortly need those kind of infrastructure as well as application to support us to take it to the next level.
Okay. Going back to what you started with, just an interest, where are all these sensors in these tires and all that?
The sensors in the tires inside. Well, you have the tire pressure meters, right? So every a modern vehicle now, you have to have your tire pressure. So even the tire pressure drops, you get a signal. But more and more for more of the let's say whether it's in agriculture or in industry like mining or even in trucks and buses, these tires are having sensors that can look at speed, the way you drive, your fuel efficiency. So there are sensors that tire companies have been putting in to provide a value-added services to particularly to fleets in terms of, because if you take large fleets, tires is their second biggest operating cost after fuel, non-payroll related, right? And so there is, as I said, using data, a lot of tire companies have been providing value-adding services to these customers.
Hizmy, interestingly, are you also doing something for consumer to select best tires, what is available for them?
Yes. Well, I mean,
Shailendra,
that question doesn't need AI to answer, right? It's obviously about
Okay.
No, great. So I know we're almost out of time. Each of you, I mean, there are plenty of companies which I'm sure haven't reached the levels that all of you have. India, of course, is putting a lot of stress on Make in India manufacturing. Of course, the government is trying a lot to ensure that we become successful in manufacturing. And all of these technologies are going to become very important if we have to become successful in this space. For all those who are still struggling to figure out your closing thoughts on manufacturing, on adoption of these newer technologies to make manufacturing more efficient, more safe, a lot more productive. Your closing thoughts to all those people. Sanjay, you want to start?
Yeah, I would just say that it's real. I think it is an opportunity to create a differentiation in the market. And obviously, everything comes with ROI. But I think that's where the whole world is heading to. And as India, we take a lead in this. We are very open to adoption of technology, irrespective of its space. And I'm looking forward to more and more companies taking this journey and advancing the adoption of AI to be the global companies.
Hizmy?
Yeah, I think this is India's decade, right? So I would urge all our colleagues in manufacturing in various industries, don't miss this opportunity. You miss this opportunity, you will not catch up. I know boards ask the question about what is the ROI. I don't think boards should ask that question. I think it's survival. The ROI is survival. If you want to be a going concern in 15, 20 years' time, it is important you have a clear strategy. The CEO has to stand behind it. And that sponsorship has to go right across the leadership team. When I say stand behind, it's not about words, it's about putting money and investment behind it. Ensure you invest in the right people, the right technology, plus also the change management. The biggest challenge is going to be bringing people along, because India is being required to, all Indian corporates and manufacturing organizations in general are required to take a leapfrog, right? We have to catch up with China because the entire world is looking for an alternate. This is the opportunity. So to leapfrog, you can't go at the normal pace we've done with technologies of the past. So it needs leadership to be brave and drive that forward. I would say don't look at ROI. The word is survival.
That's a good one. ROI, survival, absolutely, and don't lose this opportunity. Shailendra?
Yeah, so I think Make in India, we are almost there. Okay, when it comes to the manufacturing, so we are investing heavily in the digital transformation. Okay, so not only the futuristic way, but assessing ourselves that what can be done. Okay, next. So every day those questions are there in the boardroom, how we can scale up and how we can enable ourselves. So we are on the right track. We are having engagement with people, with the giants like IBM, where we are doing transformation programs, okay, on all the aspects, whether you talk about the convergence of IT and OT, whether you talk about the core business functionalities, and to explore that what can be done next. So as Hizmy said that ROI is for survival. So everyone, I think, is of the same opinion, and nowhere, unlike a decade back, people used to shy away from investment, but now investments are automatically coming, whether because of COVID or because of the Making India theme, which government is also supporting all along.
Make in India investment is happening. Dheeraj?
Yeah.
No, so Sujit, I think all the speakers have said enough. It is real, it is for here to stay. Please take advantage of it. The way that we have gone through is to look at use cases which are less complex, give certain benefits back to first the company, society, etc., to be able to arrive at the use case. Please do not hesitate to pick up use cases, align with whomsoever is the partner that you think is relevant in your case. Pick up certain things because early wins do leave a mark, bring in the confidence back on the board in terms of the ability of the people to be able to deliver. And hence, quicker, earlier success is extremely, extremely important in this journey. Pick up your fights very carefully, get a few wins under the belt, and then possibly you can go ahead and explore the world. But I think the first few wins are very, very important if you want to start this journey.
Great. Please take advantage. Plenty of opportunity there. Already companies are doing it. A lot more companies can do it, and India needs this right now. So thank you all. Thank you all so much, Dheeraj, Shailendra, Hizmy, Sanjay. Really nice having you on this platform. Hope to carry forward this discussion later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks a
everyone.
lot. Good luck.
Bye.